Uh,
All right, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Andrew Jessup, co-founder of JG Atlantic Capital, along with Gregory Gray, my business partner. He's actually a little late to the call. He's getting out of a meeting now, but he'll be joining us shortly. Reason for our call is that a few weeks ago, a friend of ours who we were traveling with, many of us have also traveled to South America, was just discussing passive income options and talked to us about one of the gentlemen, Tim, who's on the phone now, and how he's been investing with him for the past half a year, 6-7 months now, and making some really great income from an industry that Tim has been in for many, many years. So I'm going to get out the way, introduce Tim. He's been in the business many, many, many years, and has a pretty interesting background. I'll let him tell you about that, and we can go from there. So if everyone could mute out, and we'll listen to Tim, and then we will open it up for any questions afterward. And we'll have some follow-up from, is Andy on the call? I don't think I see him.
yeah, I don't see Andy right now.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if he gets on, we'll hear some of his testimony about what he's been doing with that. But okay. I will pass the reins over to you, Tim. Thanks for joining us.
All right. No, thank you guys for everybody being on this Zoom call. My name is Tim Richards. I basically have been in the energy sector / oil and gas for many, many years. Little over 20 to be exact. And the model that I actually started off with was exploratory drilling. And exploratory drilling is when people all throw their money into a specific project, and you just hope for the best, and you hope that the geology is correct. Well, after so many years of doing that, I've had some good wins in that. I've also had some, trials and tribulations. I was at a party one night. For all that you might know, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones. We were at a gala event because we owned a suite at his new stadium at that time, and he threw this big event for all the suite owners. And he said him and his sons, Jerry Jr. and Steven, they were going around the room introducing themselves to all the guests. And when he stopped at me and my wife's table, I was sitting there, and he said, "So Tim," he goes, "what do you do?" And I said, "Well, sir, I do oil and gas." And he just chuckled. And he said, "Obviously, or you may not know." He goes, "That's where I originally made my money, was in oil and gas." And he said, "If you don't remember anything that I say tonight, remember this." He said, I never made millions on exploration. I've always made my money on existing production. And that kind of, it resonated with me. But at that particular time, my model was, let's just buy 5 or 10% of a well that they're getting ready to drill and hope for the best. Well, many years after that, I said, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way to where we can safeguard the investors' money, my own money, and be more successful. So me and my wife got the idea of going around Texas and finding leases that have existing production on them, and trying to work a deal out to where we could purchase 100% of that lease with existing production on it. Well, yes, you do pay a little bit more than a virgin lease that has no production on it currently, but it's well worth it simply due to the fact we always have production that safeguards our money. So what we've been doing recently over the last several years is we go in and we buy these leases that have existing production. So at a minimum, then I have a team of my geologists, geophysicists, and engineers that come and do an analyzation of this property, cross-reference reserves, things like that. And they come up with a thumbs up or a thumbs down for us, and they say, this is good, or no, this isn't. So what we do now, for instance, the lease that Drew and Greg actually had the opportunity to tour the other week was, it's called the Cartwright Q. This lease has existing production. Our geologists and engineers have already put a game plan together on how to increase that production, along with adding 2 brand new wells on this lease. So just generalizing, we're safeguarded with about 10% money a year, up to, our reworks and our new wells could, very possibly put us right at that 100% ROI on an annual basis. So anytime you have current production at that, with everything that we intend on doing to put us up to a higher number, like a 10 multiplier, we feel that's a great situation to be put in. Not to mention your tax benefits that you receive due to oil and gas development. So that's what we do now. And I believe Andy's on the call now. Andy, him and I, we've been friends. We've been friends for a while. Andy got involved in the Comanche Shores lease with us about September, October of last year. And I ain't going to put words in the guy's mouth. I'll let him speak on his own here in a second. But it has returned him, myself, and all of our other partners. Heck, last month alone, it gave us, that lease gave us, after all expenses and all bills paid, I think it gave us almost a 2.5% monthly ROI. And because I'm a partner in every project, I can tell you that unequivocally, and another partner's here on the line with us. So, and he can vouch for that, and he can give you his own experience. Just to let you know where my company fits into all this is somebody has to pay an upfront fee to secure that lease. And when you do that, that takes a lot of money. So instead of us starting to raise money without the lease already being secure, what our company does, Gold Star, is we secure the lease by an upfront purchase. And then as we form the ownership group, what we do is we file assignments at the courthouse to be able to disperse it to like Drew's group or whatever. And so then that's where all the legal paperwork comes in. It's a simple purchase sale agreement with an assignment of lease to follow. And that's very, very standard operating. So that's basically my history, how my company's involved, and things to that nature. We do hire, I'm sure you guys are all familiar probably with real estate. You know how you get if you own a property that's out of state, you have a management company manage that piece of property for you. it's no different than what we do in the oil, in the oil field. If, because all these leases are a minimum 3 hours from even Dallas, we hire an operator, they're licensed and bonded with the Texas Railroad Commission to oversee our lease on a daily basis. So that's good because none of us have to worry about traveling out there on a daily basis to make sure the wells are operating and functioning properly. It's the most passive income that anybody can receive. And that's a good thing. We get paid every month, and you guys, if you guys come aboard into this lease with us, everything runs the same. You guys will get paid on a monthly basis and things like that. So that's pretty much it about me and what I do. Drew, are you okay with maybe Andy sharing a little bit about his experience thus far?
Absolutely, sure. He right when you said that, he turned his video off and muted.
I think you're still muted.
Yeah, you're still muted. We can't hear you. You're still muted. I'll try. There we go. There we go.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, man. I'm a guy that, like, I met Tim through a friend of mine. And when I first got into oil and gas, I didn't know much about it. But as I've been working with Tim, I've just gotten educated on it. And I realized that, people own real estate, people own stocks, people own bonds, but I wasn't very, aware that, hey, people own also oil leases. That's a thing in itself. And a lot of people don't really know about it, but you have to get with the right people. So, Tim is a real good dude. I've met him, made some money with him and other things, other ventures he's put me down with. And the one thing that I loved about it is like what everybody loves, passive income, man. Passive income, you don't have to be there. You just got to have the money to invest. If you're interested in making money in your sleep, then this is one of the best things you can do. The cool thing about it is the wells have oil. They're already pumping. So you don't really have to worry about, is it going to be a hit or miss? Tim's been doing it long enough. He's very experienced. Knows what he's doing. All my other investors that have come aboard, they're all getting their money. They're all collecting checks. They're all happy. So and the beauty of it is this thing can go for a while. You never know. This thing can go 20, 30 years, depending on how much oil is there. And then you can even pass this on later down to someone else in your family. So it's a great thing. Like I said, the minute you invest, then the following month, you start making money. And not only that, you have something that's already pumping oil. And then you can always call Tim if you have questions. I love, and then, like I said, it's right here in Texas. If you ever want to go and look at it, you can. The paperwork goes to the courthouse, just like any other thing. A lot of the people that I've brought on board have invested. So most guys, when they come on, they get it. One of the things I did like about oil and gas is I remember 10 years ago, I used to do a lot of taxes. Me and my friends did taxes, and we would always see their tax statements. It was always the oil and gas guys that were making some of the biggest money. And we always used to tell ourselves, man, how do we get a part of that? How do we get with that type of money making? So thankfully, man, I met Tim, and everything he said has been exactly that. The only thing is you'll get up to speed with how the industry works. But what we do is we just, we look for good leases, we rework them, fix them up, increase production, increase profits, and then that's mailbox money. You can collect anytime you want. And if you're interested in getting more ownership, you can always compound your money or save it and keep buying more interest into ownership. So, I mean, it was a no-brainer for me. I mean, I invest in a lot of things. I have, a lot of real estate. I have I'm in everything, crypto, real estate, you name it. And this is also another great investment that I'm doing as well. So I always tell people diversify. Don't just buy real estate. Don't just buy crypto. Don't just buy the same old stuff. Try to mix it up. And especially with a lot of minorities, they don't know a lot about it. As I talk to most of them, they're not very aware of how this works. But if you can get in and get your feet wet, it's a great investment. Like I said, I love it because when you go out there, they give you oil to take back with you so you can see it's real.
Yep.
And they already have contracts with some big oil companies that are already buying the oil. So you already know the money's going to come in. And then, and what I've noticed is since I've gotten with Tim and started making money, the profits just keep going up. So, and then with Joe Biden in office and him trying to shut down land to pump, all this is a great time to get involved in oil. And it seems like every month it keeps going up. So it's a beautiful thing to be in right now. And I like it. I'm happy. And all the people that I brought in are happy too. So it's a no-brainer. If you're an investor, you're looking for passive income, I mean, who doesn't want that, And the cool thing about it is the people that are in it are here. So you can see for yourself. If you need anything, just show anything, we're right here. So it's yeah, man. Tim said majority of what I was going to say anyway. I don't know if there's anything left for me to say, but there's 3 things that I like. It already has oil. I start getting paid immediately. And this thing can go on for quite a while. You could pass this on, and it's passive income, and it has tax incentives. So it's what could you ask for?
That's
the thing that attracted me to it, actually, me and Andy met on the beach where it wasn't his actual hotel room was right next to mine. Just so happened to be. And
talking about destiny, huh?
Yeah, in South America, and then later we were hanging out on the beach and just talking business and passive income and real estate, and he started talking about oil, and I was myself and Greg were definitely intrigued at that point to learn more. So that's kind of what brought us here today. I have a background in real estate as well, and I know that if you put $200,000 into a house, a rental house, and you fix it up, spend another 30 grand. I mean, you're happy if you get $1,000 or an $800 to $1,000 a month in positive cash flow. I mean, you're happy. That's pretty good. But how much money would you have to spend in real estate to kind of get some of the returns that we're talking about? And that $800 to $1,000 a month. I mean, what is that going to be for the year? I mean, is that $10,000, $12,000 a year? So if you take that same $200,000 and you drop it in oil, even at a very bare bones minimum of 10%, you're going to get $20,000 a year, and you're not dealing with tenants or evictions or any of that crap, right? So that's really what intrigued me about it, among a million other things. But there's upsides and downsides to anything. So Tim, I wanted you to just go over the price of oil is increasing. That's obviously great for profits, great for monthly revenue. But what happens when the oil was down, during COVID? And talk about the storage facilities that we saw when we were there.
Right.
That kind of thing. How does that work?
Well, on the Comanche Shores, guys, and Andy, you can attest to this. There's 8 tank batteries on that lease that holds 210 barrels of oil per tank battery. So if we ever had an event to where oil prices crashed and say they went down, they went down to $10 a barrel, we could store our oil production until the prices came back up. Just so you guys know, these leases are operated on a very, very tight, good budget on a monthly basis. So just our break-even point would be roughly $4.50. You would be looking at $10 a barrel would be our break-even point. We could break even selling our oil at $10 a barrel. Obviously, we don't want to, but we could break even on our monthly expenses. So we do have extra storage containers. Drew, you were out there on the Cartwright. You saw those huge tank batteries. Absolutely. And I believe Terry told us that big one holds 420 barrels of oil.
Sure.
So that's 2 of the 210s, really. And I'm telling you guys, it's an exciting time in oil. I've been doing it, guys. When Andy and I bought this into this lease in October of last year, we're getting paid $30 a barrel. Now we're getting paid almost $70 a barrel. And guess what? Our monthly revenue has skyrocketed and increased, like Andy said, and our production's been the same. So it's a great time. And realistically, oil runs in cycles. You'll normally see the same trend for about 8 years, and then it'll correct itself. So back in 06, 07, if you guys recall that time, if you were watching oil prices, we're at an all-time high, $150 a barrel. And then it kind of went down and it leveled off. And for many years, it was $70, $80 a barrel. And then we went through a time where it was, in the 30s and 40s for a while. But at the end of the day, guys, we're making money. We're making money. And that's truly, Andy couldn't have said it any better. That's the bottom line. You want passive income, do it. And you can ask Drew, Andy, Greg, you'll never get a hard sell out of me, guys, because the way I look at it, me and my wife are providing an opportunity to expand our network of partners, investors, and friends. I mean, Andy and I started off as business associates, but now I consider Andy a dear friend. I met Greg and Drew, just the other week. I consider them, friends now, even if they would never even get involved. I could still pick up the phone and just shoot the breeze with Drew or Greg, no problem. Because in my deal, it's not about what Tim's receiving from you, because I tell everybody this, me and my wife, we only charge a 10% fee of the, total money. And that's for us purchasing the lease up front and any incidentals that might happen until all the wells get put back online. Like, Andy can attest to this. We had a compressor motor go down. And basically my wife and I took money out of the contingency money that we had. We spent $5,000 on a new compressor to be able to push our gas through the gas line and sell our gas. So it's not about what we can get, because we buy into these deals too, guys. We're partners on these deals, just like you, just like Drew, just like, Andy and Greg is. So we're not sitting here trying to get rich off of your money. We're trying to form these partnership groups and ownership groups to where there's strength in numbers. We can do a lot more if we all put a little bit of our money in. We can do a lot bigger things. And Drew, you heard it, and Andy, you heard it, and Greg heard it come right out of Terry's mouth. The reason he couldn't do what we're doing, he was a one-man band. He was a one-man operation. His wife would have killed him if he would have took, $800,000-$900,000 and tried to do it on their own.
Right.
So
just a little background on who Terry is. Terry is a gentleman who owns over, what is it, like he said, 100 oil leases in Texas.
yes.
And for a while, he was a one-man operation. Now I think he has 10 people working with him.
Correct.
But he's nearing retirement and is a very good friend of Tim's, and is basically the person who's supplying these oil leases to Tim.
Yeah.
So Tim buys them up front and then sells off ownership stake to people like us, and we use that investment money to rework some of the wells and increase production, increase revenue. So starting at even if it was only the base revenue of what the wells were at, I mean, that's still a good thing. But just the exciting part is like what more we can do with the investment money, increasing production at each of these lease sites. And there's tons more to come, according to Tim. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I've got a minimum 8 more after this one, guys.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, you get in now, you'll ride that wave with us. I guarantee it. Because like Andy said, most passive income. The hardest thing Andy has to do is come back from one of his trips and see a revenue check in the mailbox and deposit it. That's the extent. That's the extent of Andy's work
That guy
in
lives
this.
on vacation.
You know.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, and that's the extent. Now, granted, I go out to the leases because my son is a geophysicist. He assists us with his expertise and his knowledge, along with our other geologists and engineers. I do a little bit more than just sit at home collecting checks. I go out to the leases, once or twice a week, because that's who I am. That's how I'm built. Plus, I'm 3 hours away. So it's a good thing. And at the end of the day, guys, I'm your eyes and ears as well. And then, like I said, I report back to the other owners like Andy and so on and so forth. And it's a beautiful thing. We're gonna live stream and or video the new wells that are being drilled. So you guys that can't be here in person, you can catch it on video or you can catch it on live stream.
Nice. Excellent. So that's the basic overview, everyone. I'm going to open it up. Oops. I'm going to open it up now for some questions, and we're about to run out of time because my Zoom meeting limit is giving me some notification thing here. So we'll take a few questions. I'm going to drop my email in the. There was a question. Do we expect the adoption of electric vehicles to affect the demand for oil?
I'm sorry?
Do we expect the adoption of electric vehicles to affect the demand for oil?
No. And the reason I say that is because how do you think those electric vehicles are going to be made? It takes oil, it takes natural gas to run the equipment necessary to build these electric vehicles. A lot of people don't know it, but a lot of your your nuclear power plants along the East Coast are their power's generated off of natural gas.
Yep, very true. And a lot of municipalities, states, even countries are phasing out, internal combustion engine vehicles. The fact remains that, like you said, the power has to come from somewhere. And even if it's only 30 or 40 more years of making money on this, like, so what? That's 30 or 40 more years of doing pretty good, right? So
I agree.
Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll take a few more questions. I'm going to drop my email in the chat now. So those who are interested, we'll have probably another call to go over specific numbers, and depending on the commitments that we get from people, we'll be able to tell you more specific percentages and of your ownership stake of the portion that we're going to buy. And Greg and I's company will take care of the logistics of doing that with Tim, and we'll go from there. What's the second question here? What's the minimum percentage return we can expect on an investment we put in? The minimum is 10%. Well, the minimum is going to be 10%. Anybody else have any questions? You can either unmute yourself.
Right, so yeah, I do have a couple of questions. So this is Mark McFadden with Honest Equities Group.
Sure.
And thanks for presenting the information. Is this in any type of structure, like an actual type of private placement memorandum, like a PPM?
No.
This is Mark. This is just a private sale with a purchase sale agreement followed with an assignment of lease. That's how it's structured. It keeps everything clean. It's like if I owned a car and you wanted to buy my car, you would get a purchase sale agreement. It's done very simple and easy. It keeps you out of the red tape of the SEC and things to that nature.
Okay. So I just heard that the minimum percentage return, like the ROI, is 10%. So how are you trying to have, like a guarantee of like a 10% ROI?
Well, that I guess what where Drew would be with that is based on the current production of what the lease is doing. Currently, that would safeguard and say, you know, a minimum of 10% ROI annually.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
And how long are the actual leases?
They're in perpetuity. Every lease that we purchase, Mark, has an inactivity clause in it, which just basically, I'll give you an example on the Comanche Shores. If Andy and I's group did not produce a drop of oil for 24 consecutive months, then the lease is null and void. But we could, like, if we had all the wells go down, there's no way on God's green earth that we would not have, we would have no production for 24 consecutive months. We would, you know, we would partner up and put a little bit of money out of our own pockets and get the problems resolved or the wells up and running. I've never seen a lease in my 20 years that had 24 consecutive months of no production.
Okay, so if by chance, and this, you know, worst case scenario, if by chance you do have a lease that is non-producing, what's the return factor of the actual type of capital outlay?
Like, let's just say the most common problems with wells is either a hole in the tubing or a parted rod or a pump change. Any of those events would only be a maximum of probably $6,000 to $8,000, and then that would be extrapolated over 100%. So, to give you an example, a $6,000 repair for a 1% owner would correlate to $60.
Okay.
Your share. So it's not, we're not talking hundreds of thousands of dollars of repairs.
Mhm. Is
And
there
generally,
you know, kind of like a
when-
minimum raise amount that you are looking to raise?
Far as for the
So you have
Cartwright,
X amount of leases. Is there a minimum figure that you're looking to raise?
every figure's different, Mark, and the reason being, every lease is purchased at a different price. Every lease is valued at a different price due to their existing production. And then what we do is we figure out how much it's going to cost us to rework the production to get it up and how many new wells we're going to put into that lease. So for instance, every lease has a different dollar value. The last thing we want to do is have somebody invest and then go, oh, by the way, now to rework these wells, you've got to put more out of your pocket. And oh, by the way, to drill more wells like we're going to, you got to put more out. So what we do is we encompass it under one price, and then the money sits in escrow. And as the work is being done, we release the funds to the people doing the work for us.
Okay. So is
Very-
there a actual type of K1 that each investor gets that has a breakdown of what they invested less expenses incurred?
Now you get a 1099 at the end of the year.
Okay.
yeah. So the way that JG is going to be working it is we would issue 1099s to every investor and or group of investors. So that's kind of how.
But 1099 does not take into account your percentage of interest owned.
Right. There's like some accompanying legal documentation we're gonna have with that for showing that.
Okay, we can talk offline about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. All the specific legal details. That, I mean, I didn't want to get into all that with this call. Just kind of wanted to do an overview. But you're absolutely right that we have to take into account that.
Yeah, there's a way where you're going to be able to get your tax incentives. Tim will send you something at the end of the year that you'll be used to do your taxes with, so you can get all those incentives. So, I mean, obviously, I'm not a CPA, but there's a way that you can do it. You know, I think this is my first year about to do it on my taxes. So, yeah, that's one of the big benefits as well. You know, especially if you have 1030 exchanges and stuff like that, this is probably some of the best investment you can do if you're doing a 1030 exchange. You know.
All right, we have about 1 more minute, guys. Check my email in the chat, and just send me an email if you're interested, and I'll put together, you know, on average what we think our commitments are going to be. So and I can get back to Tim, and we can work through it that way. If you have any more questions specifically, please feel free to give me a call. I believe all of you have my number. If not, I'll put it in the chat. So make sure you copy and paste that now before the call ends, because it is about to in like 1 minute. And I'll save this recording for anybody else who's interested, and I'll email it out to all the participants who want it. So just reply to that, send me an email, and we'll get the commitments and go from there.
All right. Nice talking to everybody. You guys take care, and God bless everybody.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
All right. Thanks.
Have a good one, guys.
All right. A good one.
See you.